Welcome to the November Citizen Involvement Committee meeting. We welcome those in the audience. If you would like to make a comment on any of the items on the agenda and you aren't signed up to be presenting, we have comment forms in the back of the room that you can fill out and turn to Christina. And we will have Barbara do the roll call. And we're going to call out neighborhood associations. And so if she calls out the association, then you say your name along with whatever. I mean, like, if two of you, it doesn't look like any two people are here, so never mind that one. Oh, there you are. Bill, you were hiding. So when she calls herself in, then both of you say, like, you say Bill here, Gary here, or something like that.
Like we've done for 3 years?
No, we're not going to call out by name now.
Oh.
She's just going to call neighborhood.
Oh.
And then you can say.
Okay.
Use. Yeah, because technically we don't require to, so
She didn't get it.
we'll just try that. All right, let's try it.
Okay, Berkeley Hills.
I was going to say same thing.
Wait, who's
Kenema.
here? Say your name. Mark's here.
Dennis Anderson.
For Berkeley Hills?
No, for Kenema. She said Kenema.
Hey, we're no name. I'm Barkley Hills.
No, you're supposed to say your name when she calls the neighborhood association.
Okay.
Caulfield
We'll get
neighborhood.
there.
We need a do-over.
All right.
A do-over.
Starting from the top. Caulfield.
Mike Mitchell.
I have to translate here. Gaffney
know.
Lane.
Amy Wilhite.
Hillendale.
Joyce Gifford. Not me.
McLaughlin. PPNA. Myself, Barbara Rankin. Steve is excused. River Crest.
Karen.
South End.
Bill is here. Gary's here.
Woohoo.
Two Rivers.
Brian Boyce.
Tower Vista.
Ben Johnson.
Christina, Brian, and Tony. Okay.
All right. We are going to switch our presentations around and we'll let the fire district go first because we know that you sometimes get called out and appreciate your time coming. So come on up to the podium and introduce yourself. And if you want us to pass those around, you can just start them on one end.
Start those along there. Three different things in there. Good evening, thank you. My name is Jonathan Shireman. I'm one of the battalion chiefs here in Oregon City for Clackamas Fire District. And we thank you guys for the opportunity to come and just talk to you guys, give you a quick update of what we've got going on. And we're very excited because in just a couple of weeks, we're going to start our annual Ops Santa project, which is where we drive the fire engines around through the various neighborhoods and different areas in the fire district and get toys and canned food and donations and whatnot. And then we make gift baskets and hand them out before Christmas time. So Ops Santa is going to start this year the day after Thanksgiving. And then the 2 nights we're going to be in Oregon City in the Hilltop and Holcomb area. And then the Hilltop area, I believe, are November 26th and November 27th. So if you hear a lot of hooting and hollering and sirens and whatnot coming through your neighborhood at a very slow pace, that's what it is. And an occasional ho, ho, ho from Santa Claus who's riding along on one of the engines. So then the second thing I wanted to share with you guys is just a quick bond update of what's going on, specifically here in Oregon City. So we have one of our new, it's called a Type 3 fire engine. It's a heavy brush engine, if you will, that's been up in Holcomb. It went into service at the start of the summer, and it was one of the apparatus that was bought with the bond proceeds that we passed a couple years ago. That engine itself, I believe, went on over 70 some odd calls this summer, including conflagration deployments to Central Oregon, to Warm Springs, Sisters, down on the Southern Oregon coast in Coos Bay. I'm sorry, not in Coos Bay, in Brookings on the Chetco Bar Fire. And it also went down to California this last month. So it's been a very busy new engine. So then we also have, if you've been at the post office lately, you've noticed that we're missing a fire station and that it is now actually under construction. So we moved into that phase and we're very excited to get Station 16 moving along again and hopefully by this time next year, we'll be back in that station and staffing it. A couple additional pieces of apparatus, the tractor-drawn aerial or the tillard ladder truck is going to be the new truck 16, which will respond out of the new station. And then South End Station 17 has a new engine 317 out there as well that just went into service this last month. We've got all kinds of other bond projects going on throughout the fire district, but those are the ones that are specific to Oregon City. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have or.
Quick question, what, the numbers changed, like on the engines, you say 16, now it's 316. What's
They did, and the reason behind that, so CCOM, our regional provider for dispatch services, along with WACA, which is the Washington County Area Dispatch Center, the PSAP, it's a public safety answering point, and then Columbia County all went in together and bought a new CAD system, or computer-aided dispatch system. So with that new system, there were duplicate numbers in the system, and that wasn't going to work. So the entire county, Clackamas County, has went to a 3-digit numbering system. So all of our engines and ladder trucks and everything basically added a 3 to the start of them. So here in Oregon City, truck 16 is now truck 316, just to avoid confusion on the dispatch end. There was actually an engine 16 out in Hillsborough, or Forest Grove, that every once in a while would cause an issue, even though the CAD, it's going to be new CAD, but sometimes it would get mixed up via Washington County and Clackamas County. And we'd get a call for an area that we had no idea where it was for, didn't recognize at all, and it was actually out in Forest Grove. So that's the reason why we went to the new numbering system, and it was actually countywide. So Molalla, Canby, Colton, everybody across the board is going to be in that new numbering system.
So you said Clackamas County, Washington County, and what was the third jurisdiction?
And Columbia County.
Columbia. Mark, you had a question?
Yeah, my question is more on the wildland fire side, because, that's what I do.
Okay.
On your type 3, when you go on a confirmation fire and that equipment goes outside the service area, how do you guys get reimbursed? Because it's an extreme cost to the local community, plus in addition that you're moving resources out of the area that we've already paid for, and therefore and getting reimbursed for that. How does that money get back into the coffers to recoup the cost of you guys going out there, billing for your time, for your resources, which are community resources? How does that money come back to Oregon City?
That money actually comes back through the state fire marshal's office. So it comes back from the state of Oregon. So when there's a conflagration act, the governor signs a conflagration act notice that the local jurisdiction where that fire is has been overwhelmed, and they're not able to handle the emergency anymore. So they ask for help, and then from the state fire marshal's office calls through the county fire defense board. So each county, I believe up in Eagle Creek would be a great example from this summer. There were over 22 different counties that had task force represented in the gorge this summer. So everything's been overwhelmed for, Cascade Locks would be a great example in there. They were overwhelmed and they asked for help. So we sent help. All of the costs of that are reimbursed to the fire district, including the callback overtime for the firefighters to be replaced here. And then, so we do lose a little bit we don't have that piece of apparatus specifically here anymore. However, we have reserve apparatus that we're able to replace and fill in for those apparatus that have went. And then we also backfill all the positions that have left.
So sooner or later, the time and the material and everything that you guys expend to go to another fire, because we know how much we make on those fires. It's a lot of money.
It is.
We spent 60 days out there and made $200,000. So it's not an issue but that's a lot of money to come back. And that's a private contractor. That's not you guys, and you're more expensive than us. So therefore, when you're looking at bond issues and getting money from the locals and we see equipment going out, we like to see that the money is being contributed back to the same people that it came out of. So that's why the question.
So essentially when that money comes back, we do make, so the state, say one of the type 3 engines that went out, the one from Holcomb this year, the engine itself makes about $65 an hour when it's out. So that's from the time it's called out to the time that it gets back. And then all the other costs associated with that are recouped from the state.
Do you have those numbers, how much Clackamas made this year?
I don't have the numbers yet. We're still working with the state on
It takes
all of
4
it.
months.
It does. It takes a while. We had 6 different conflagrations that we responded to this year. So all those numbers aren't back. I know from the first one in Warm Springs, the total bill that we sent for the state was about $103,000 for the total cost.
Yeah.
So it's a significant cost to the state.
It's not cheap.
No, it's not. But if you're in that community, and hopefully at some point when we need help, others are going to be able to come and help us. So.
The Warren Springs tribe
Okay.
are great firefighters.
Mark, I think we got
So.
answer. Any other questions that we have? Okay, thank you very much.
I think you should introduce your companions.
Yeah.
I was going to say, are they still back there? They're there. So this is the crew from the John Adams station. This is engine 315.
Patrick Dunn, Lieutenant, B shift. Shondor Pongratz, apparatus operator, B shift.
AJ Stuck, firefighter, B shift.
Great.
Thank you.
So right now, this is the engine crew that's responding out of the John Adams station. And we also, while we're getting the temporary station set up at the community college, we also have Truck 316's crew out of the John Adams station right now as well.
Oh, so that hasn't been set up yet at
It's
the college?
getting very close, hopefully within the next week or so.
Okay, so that explains why more things are going up Lynn and going farther.
Yes.
The sounds are going to be different.
Okay.
Yes, it does. So again, it's a temporary, unfortunate setback, but in that transition time from when we went from cleaning all the temporary station that we had up at Station 16, there's that temporary time where we're getting all the mobile home that was behind the old station. It got moved up to the community college campus, and they're still working on getting the utilities hooked up and the temporary bay for the ladder truck set up. So it's getting close, and hopefully within the next week or two, it'll be all done and finished, and they'll be up there full time.
Okay. No, I run for my pulse point every time I hear
Oh.
a siren. And the other day it was like a medical call on Myers. And I'd heard it come all the way up Lynn. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That would be why.
That's why.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. All right. Well, we will now get a library update.
Good thing we let him go first.
They're not running, so it must not be
Oh,
a
okay.
call out.
They never run anyway.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Maureen Cole, Library Director, for those of you who don't know me. And tonight I just want to update you on what we've been doing in the library since we've opened. As of this past October 15th, we've been open in the entire building for 1 year. And so the statistics going forward from November will we'll start comparing ourselves to how we've been doing from last year coming forward. So let's see. Christina left. When you come back up, can you turn those lights down just a little bit, or does that not work in this meeting? Just because for... Oh, awesome. That's way easier to see for people who are looking at it that way. So, as you know, when we started planning for the addition, we wanted to be sure that we showcased the Carnegie portion of the library and retained the ability for everybody to enjoy the park and the library space in the ways that everybody was used to doing it from years on. So I just wanted to have a couple pictures of the whole place. I think this is about 1938 from what I'm recalling. On the left, that's 1960s. Karen Morey told me to call that the snout, the
Yes.
thing on the front. On the right, that's Pam Bloom and her brother Ricky standing at the slide.
Oh, wow.
I just love that picture so much. I just had to have it. And here's what we look like now. So you can see that the Carnegie portion is clearly showcased. It looks good from all angles. I don't think she's got a bad side. In the entryway now, I finally, now that we've been there a while, I finally got a dedication plaque up. It's made from the wood, some of the wood that came from the site. We used the wood in multiple ways. We used it for the laptop bars upstairs, and we used it for all of the shelves. We call them stacks where the books are, the side panels and the canopy tops. So we used a lot of that wood. And we have a multitude of wonderful spaces in the library now, all kinds of activity areas and seating arrangements. And the Carnegie has turned into a lovely reading room with a roaring gas fire, which is so nice at this time of the year. We've turned it on now that it's gotten cold outside. Somebody said 39 degrees. That's freezing.
Oh, not quite.
Well, okay, thank you. It's not freezing.
There's some
It
books
makes
you
me
could check
feel
in the
freezing.
library.
How's that? We have a teen space upstairs. We have 2 meeting rooms upstairs. Our internet area is upstairs also. Our reference desk, there's one of the laptop bars I was talking about. There's lots of areas with chairs and tables tucked away. That's what I could kind of see through the stacks. That was like just last week or the week before, when it was so nice before it started raining. It was incredible. So the benefit of having that 2-story building is on one side feeling like you're in the treetops, like a treehouse effect, and on the other side you get that great view all the way to West Lynn. So one of the things that we've been able to do since we're in the new space, now that we have all these spaces, is have lots of programs. And our programs have upped significantly. One of them that we have every Saturday is Lego Lab, and then we display the creations that the kids create. It's held in the community room, which is where we have most of our programs, not all of them, but most of them. We even have all the story times there, which is really great because the kids are not distracted by all the fun things that we have in the children's area. So they're much more likely to listen to actually the story time going on. The kids are a huge focus at the library. They're not the only focus, but they're a huge focus. So this summer we got a lot of help from Chief Charlton and Chief Band for the summer reading program. And with the help of Willamette Falls Media Center, we created a really nice promo. And then we did this like competition, and the kids earned a sticker for their reading time, and their sticker was a quarter, and they could decide which cutout to put it on. And since I'm an employee from the city of Oregon City, I have to say I'm really excited to say that Chief Band won, but it was a very close contest, and Chief Charlton is pretty sure that the game was rigged. So probably be hearing about that on MSNBC pretty soon. Anyway, next summer, yeah. Both of those departments did donate $250 to the library for a future butterfly garden, because this was all wrapped up in a Build a Better World theme for summer reading. It was really, really fun. And we kicked off the summer reading programs with Touch a Truck. And this is another event that brought the departments together. It's super convenient, and we love being right across the street from these guys behind me. Not only do they have like really cool trucks, but if anything went wrong, we knew they would be right there. And they have run across the lawn a time or two. But the police brought their SWAT vehicles, the fire officers brought their trucks out. We had Public Works there. We think about 500 people that day. It was a huge success. So this is an event that we're going to continue to have annually. And then we had weekly events. This was a Chalk It Up. We've got a great outside space. This is Can You Build It? Using cartons. Bubblicious on your right, Harry Potter Birthday on your left. This is Zaniac. Kids are pretty excited. So that's the interior of our community room. And this was the Eclipse. We gave out over 1,000 pairs of Eclipse solar glasses that we got through a little grant program that the libraries were all doing. And then we had a program that day. In that small picture in the middle, you can see that's the Eclipse being broadcast on some channel. And we have monitors around the library that are linked together, so we can show things like that if we want. Daily, what you will see there is like our lineup of programs that are upcoming. There we are at National Night Out. We had a bubble machine. Really, if you ever want to make friends with kids, all you need is a bubble machine. And then on the left are 2 dogs that we have reading to the dogs. On the top is Igmu, and on the bottom is Oakley. Kids really love that. And then one of our signature events is May the 4th be with you. Now that we have more space, we can even do more fun things with this. And we spread out using the entire building, and we got more cosplayers this year than we ever had before. So that was really, really fun. One of the other programs that we have weekly is Art Lab, and that's usually based on either a style of art or a specific artist. So the people who attend, learn a little bit about art and get to experiment weekly. And we have, I just didn't have that many pictures of adults in adult programs, but we do have regular craft programs for adults, and then we have all ages things too. But some of our adult programs are like, we have Oregon Humanities Conversations projects coming with some very tough topics. Those are really cool though, because they've got great people that will facilitate those kinds of conversations. We're still doing Pints from the Past with the Museum of the Oregon Territory, and we're still having our First Friday films out at the end of the Oregon Trail. And I actually said those backwards one time when I was out there, and I got corrected really quickly. And we have like WorkSource Oregon is been coming for every Monday for like 8 weeks in a row. We just have all kinds of things going on. And then we have all kinds of new and interesting collections as well. I don't know if you've heard of zines before. They're kind of like self-published, kind of pamphlet-sized things on like, it could be any topic in the world. And we've got quite a variety. There's a really big movement in Portland to publish these, and we've got some younger librarians who are really in on that. We have graphic novels, we have staff picks, we have a local poetry section now. We have a lot more space for displays, teen classics. We have award sections of award books for teens and kids. The Oregon collection is now all back where it belongs at the library. We have Russian books, Spanish books. Those are being the 2 main languages that you find in Clackamas County besides English, of course. And then we also participated in an update to our technology with the rest of the link libraries. We went to RFID, which is radio frequency identification. So instead of using barcodes as your scanning technology, it now has RFID. So that means that you can check out several books at a time at once. And so there's our new self-checks. On the left, we have 5 of those. 2 of them are standing like that, and 3 of them are tabletop. And then on the right, we have our automated materials handler. That's the check-in spot. So if you bring it there, it will be checked in automatically and quickly, which is really, really nice, instead of having it sit around until a staff can get to it. And that's what it looks like from the inside. So other technology that we do have a 3D printer, but it's not set up yet. We're getting a laptop cart with tablets, and those will be great for technology classes. So those things are coming. And so at the library these days, we have seen 30,000 or more people a month since February. In August, we had 41,000 people through our doors. Just last month, we were at 34,000, which is a huge increase from years past, obviously. And when we were just in the Carnegie, we had about 15,000 people a month average. So still more than you ever thought possible could go through those doors in a month. But our circulation is up, our registrations are up, our programs are up, our program attendance is up. I mean, things are really, really looking positive at the Oregon City Public Library. We have people there every day, way more than I ever thought possible. I'm not sure I'm going to get to 50,000 though, boss, so don't hold me to that one. That is really all I have for you, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioner?
So we have an award-winning building here also.
We do.
Yeah.
And the first one is the Daily Journal of Commerce does their awards annually, which cover buildings in the state of Oregon. And of all the municipal buildings that were built last year,
Right.
this building got second place in the state of Oregon. The other one, maybe you can, I'm not sure which that was, but
Well, the other one was not really an award, but there's the National Library Association, well, it's American Library Association, annually showcases designs. So Library Design Showcase is what it's called. And we were showcased in that. And that's like a really big honor because people submit all their, all the many new buildings that are being built every year get submitted. And we were showcased in that. And we were like right on the spread, as you opened the
Centerfold.
well, we're the centerfold. I'm not sure I want to repeat that anywhere, but
Is there a staple in the middle?
And then it was picked up by another national public library publication, and they talked about the Library Design Showcase, and we were the picture that they chose out of all the people that they showcased. It was our picture that they chose, and that was really cool. And then we have another award coming, but it's a secret. I can't tell you about it just yet. It's a secret. It's a secret. But yeah, we've started actually kind of a Hall of Fame inside the building over going to the community room. The geochron is there. That was donated. It's the big world map with the time thing on it, which is very, very interesting. And we've started hanging some plaques on that wall. It looks really great right there. Yeah.
There's also plaques on the book. Named
There are many donor plaques throughout the library, as well as the fake card catalog wall as well. And so go in and see them. They look really, really good. I just had one up there, which was the Norris and Bloom family donation for the community room, but there are several more like that, including ones at the end of Stacks, over near the business section.
Yes.
Yes, not to mention any names. Yeah.
Any other questions for Maureen?
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you so
you.
very much, and I hope to see you all at the library.
Yeah.
See me in the Oregon collection.
Okay, Christina.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to be a presenter tonight. Exciting. So I am here to help you pass on information to your neighborhood associations to help your members make effective comments in land use applications. So I attached just our one kind of 2-pager FAQ, but I'd like to kind of walk through some of the points, and then more importantly, walk you through our website and how to get access. So a little bit is going to be a run through our website while I talk. And I'm happy to answer lots of questions. Being a planner here for 16 years, I can tell you when I get really good constructive public comments, I like it because that means I can respond constructively to them. And when I get very unconstructive comments or vague comments, I don't know what to do. So they end up just being added to the record. And so I like it just selfishly as a planner, and it also helps the process. So first, to start off, you hear from your neighbors that say, hey, there's something happening down the street. I saw a blue land use sign. The way you can get more information, either you received a transmittal from one of our planners that had the one-page notice, or you can walk to the blue land use sign in your neighborhood and read it. To be able to access, we have all of the land use signs information available on our website, and the way to get access to it is under government. You want to go to planning, and now I'm on the planning page, and you'll go to public notices, and you want to click on land use notices 2009 to present. So I'm going to click on that. And typical. That's annoying.
Give it time.
Oh, I don't like to. Well, what I'm going to do, let's pretend that we are already at the site, and we're going to find a land use notice.
What's ironic about that?
I know. And I don't know if this is just not working on our computer, but let's just do historic. So this one came up to the Historic Review Board. Let's see, noticing. Okay, so let's say you're in the McLaughlin neighborhood and you noticed that there was a land use sign. And you went and you clicked on, and hopefully before we're done we can figure it out, but you've clicked on the file number and this notice pops up. So you have a lot of information in notice to help you with next steps. One, it tells you the date of the hearing if there is a hearing. So this is what we call a type 3 application. So type 1s are over the counter and you don't get public notice. This would be like a sign permit. It's clear and objective. Anybody can look at check the box and give the permit. Type 2, we do send to a 300-foot notice of neighbors, but it is a staff approval unless appealed by the city commission. So those would be things like site plan design review, subdivision, minor site plan. Type 3 requires, and those are still clear and objective, but they have enough of a lens to look in that we want to make sure the public, there's a little bit more discretion. So we want to make sure that the public has the ability to look at the findings and appeal it to the city commission. But the criteria is still pretty clear and objective. Type 3 goes to the planning commission if you were doing a conditional use or a master plan or a planning commission variance, or the historic review board application. The historic review board is type 3. And type 4 applications are ones that go to the city commission. So that might be a zone change or an annexation or a legislative file, which I'll talk about a little later. So we can tell here we have a historic review board application. It's going in front of the historic review board on Tuesday, October 24th. This is the file number. In this case, it happened to be an expired previous file, so they had to reapply. Here's the owner, then we have the applicant. We put the request, so they're requesting a new office building in the McLaughlin Conservation District. The address, and look at me, here, this is me. This is really important. This is the planner you want to talk to. So if it says contact person, you want to call that person up, and often I have my email, or the planner does, and I apologize, and this is when I was supporting the Historic Review Board last month, but oftentimes you'll have the email for the planner or the phone number. And I think the best thing you can do is if you have any questions, contact the planner, because our job is to support the applicant, to support neighbors, to support Tony, to support anybody. We're here to help everybody through the process. So we encourage, please do call us or email us if you have questions. You have the neighborhood association that the application is located in, and this is also another really important piece, and that's the approval criteria. So in this situation, we have Chapter 1740, which is the Historic Overlay District, and Mixed Use Corridor, which is the underlying zone. And so you can also get access to the city code book, and I'll show you when we're done how to do that. But this is the criteria that the staff person is going to be writing their staff report on. And most importantly, this is the criteria you should be looking at in how you write your comments. Because, once again, if you can tie your comments to applicable criteria and why you think the applicant does or does not meet it, that can help the decision makers, be it a staff decision or the planning commission or city commission. And then down here, it has a little more information about the deadline. Oftentimes, if you want your public comments to go on the agenda packet, we generally like it 10 days ahead of time. So you'll see, sometimes we have less, Historic Review Board has a little less, but they'll have a comment period deadline. Lately, for the Planning Commission, we've been saying 3:30 p.m. Before the day we mail it out, and it'll be laid out, as well as 3:30 p.m. on the night of the hearing if you want us to be able to give it to the planning commissioners ahead of time. Let's see, another piece, we keep this on here, but if your neighborhood association wants to appeal a land use application, you need to do it at a duly noticed meeting prior to the filing of appeal. So under 1750-290C, we have some specifics. So please do contact the planner if you have an inkling that your neighborhood association wants to do the free appeal, because we want to make sure you do it right and not that you've gone through 90% of the process and we say, oh, you can't get it because you missed something in the process. So please do contact us and we'll work with you to make sure that you've done everything you needed. Does anybody have any questions about the notice before I move on to how to get access to the code criteria? Okay, now let's all cross our fingers that we can get back to our website and that it works.
The other link was working now.
Okay, it was.
No, it's working on my phone.
Yeah. Well, that's convenient.
Okay, William, you can walk around and show.
Gather around the fire. I'm going to shut down the PowerPoint. Maybe it's just, maybe Mo's pictures are too much for the computer. Let's go back up. It's just not wanting to be here. Well, that's...
Hey, Christina, I have one question on the
Sure.
appeal process. Can a neighborhood association appeal a land use in another association?
I'm going to defer that to Mr. Conkle because I know that's a question. I'm sorry, because currently you can.
As long as it'd be the same requirements, you would have had to have
Right.
commented.
Right, it's all
Sure.
about staying in one track.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So if you have
okay.
standing as a neighborhood association and the neighborhood association, it submits comments at a duly noticed meeting and then gets authority to appeal at a duly noticed meeting, but it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Currently, the way it's
Understood.
written.
But we do it as a neighborhood, not as, gotcha.
Correct.
Yeah. I think Chrome is going to help us out. Yay. All right, let's see what this is. Okay. So how you get access to the municipal code is you want to go to government, and you see municipal code and city charter. So you can click on that. It takes you to our code section. So you remember, we had two codes that were applicable for that application. It was 1740, which I'll scroll down here and find. So historic. So let's say that was a new construction in the McLaughlin Conservation District. So just so you see, you'd be wanting to look at new construction. So it has criteria, exterior alterations and new construction, and it kind of tells you what the staff is looking at. So once again, if you say, in this situation, there's additionally some design guidelines adopted. So maybe you come up with a criteria that you don't think, or you think that this new construction, adversely affects the district, or you think it's a great inclusion in the district and will add value and support the historic nature. You want to, in your comments, go back to that applicable criteria when you write your comments. The other one was the underlying zone, which is 1729 mixed-use corridor. So this is your general zone. Every zone has an underlying zone of permitted uses. This one is along the 7th Street corridor, as well as a little bit into High Street and Center Street. And these are the permitted uses and dimensional standards. So how high, what are the setbacks, and so forth. And so this, I really recommend taking a look at the criteria for any application. Granted, I chose an easier one. If I had a subdivision, you may have Title 10, vehicles and traffic, Title 12, streets, Title 16, land divisions, and the zoning code. And it might be in a geologic hazard overlay, but we'll write all of those down. And also, if there's something that, like a zone change that has, that directs you back to comprehensive plan policies, we'll, in the notice, we'll identify the comprehensive policies that we think are applicable. So you can go back, and let me show you how to get to the comprehensive plan. I'm just going to Google it on the main page because I forget where it is right now. Oops, wrong one, sorry. All right. So the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2004, and that's our guiding document. And so the idea is the comprehensive plan are the policies of the city, and then the municipal code is then enacted or amended to implement the comprehensive plan. So if you're doing a zone change, for example, you are moving from one zone to another, maybe you're doing a comprehensive plan map amendment, or maybe there's other things that trigger comprehensive plan goals, you can open this. So an example, I'm just going to grab a chapter. These are some open. So here's a goal, and then there's a community and comprehensive planning. Ensure that citizens, neighborhood groups, and affected property owners are involved in all phases of the comprehensive plan program. Then there's 2 policies. So oftentimes you'll see like goal 2.2 or policy 2.1. So you can look up into the comprehensive plan and read those goals and policies and say, oh, I think those are applicable, and I hear my comments related to them. So the other aspect, so now we found the application, oh, and now we can go back online. So I'm going to go back to where we started today under government and planning and public notices, land use notices. Come on.
Now it's going.
Yeah.
Spinning
Okay. So I'm going to make it easy. We're going to go 2017. Neighborhood, we know it's McLaughlin, and I don't think I've updated it. So I'm going to go active and apply. You can scroll down here. Let's see. Oh. You know what? I think I already put in the notice of decision for this one. Huh. Well, now I'm feeling bad because I just updated this.
It just disappeared.
What did I do?
Did it start in 16?
No.
Russian hack. They stole my data.
Is that our new default that we're going to blame the Russians? Okay. Well, that's really interesting, and I apologize because I'm the one that put the page together. And I know it's in here because I uploaded it.
Is this the project on Center Street?
Yeah, it's a Center Street project.
Because I think it went back further than that, if I remember right. They were trying to avoid the SDC.
Yeah, it should be.
Your SDC fees on it.
Yeah, because it was a reapplication.
Yeah, but it should
Would
be,
it still be under the 15 number?
should be on here.
Maybe.
Well, I'm going to grab one. Let's see, let's
That's
grab
a
this
big
one,
one.
TP 1701.
Don't go too big.
Oh, this is in your neighborhood.
Okay, so
Barbara
this
likes
was last spring. It also, 8-lot subdivision. Let's see. So we have the map and the notice, and we often can put the applicant's complete application, so you can get access to the applicant's complete application. So by going there, and the key is we only put the applicant's application up to help you kind of start the process. We are not set up to put the whole land use record on this website, and we do say in a notice on the top. Once again, if you have a question about the record or you do want to get information, contact the planner because we can get you that information. So we are continuing to clean up this, and I wanted to give you some updates on this. Our goal is to clean up the have only active files, and we've had a couple of years that we have not uploaded the notice of decision and closed out. So that's some of my homework to do this next month. But as we start to the new year, we hope to have just active land use files in this database online. The other thing that David Knoll, our GIS coordinator and website coordinator, is doing, which I think you'll be really excited, is we're going to move towards an option for a subscription notice. So if you would like to get notices of land use applications in your neighborhood, you can subscribe. And when a planner publishes their land use application page, you will get a push notification that says, hey, did you know that this is in your neighborhood? We're still working on the kinks. I can't say exactly, but we're hoping sometime this summer that we'll get it out. And you can, ideally, you can sign up for as many neighborhood associations if you want. So, for example, with Rivercrest, maybe you want to look at Rivercrest and South End. And so you can click on Rivercrest for like Karen and South End. Or maybe you're a glutton and you want to click on every neighborhood association.
I already get everything.
Then you can. But I think the goal is you can follow as many as you want. And then the idea is the planner will, in a sense, send you a notice as soon as it's active. And then you can get access to the criteria, what the applicant's submittal is, and then most importantly, the deadlines. When's the deadline to submit? When's the application, hearing, and so forth, so forth. So you can get back to your neighbor association and determine what kind of comments you want to have. Let's see. That's kind of the main pieces. I did notice, Joyce let me know that there's a link on the page that is not quite right that says orcity.org/planning/land use. I'll make sure that's cleaned up on the version and let you give that back out to the group. But I think the key is when you write your letter, do the best you can to tie it to the criteria. And then when you're at a public meeting, you have 3 minutes for city commission and either 3 to 5 minutes for planning commission, depending on the planning commission chair. So if you don't feel that you can get all your comments in 3 to 5 minutes and you're a little stressed out, you can always send in a supplementary written comment that night of the meeting for the record. And you can just kind of go over the highlights in your public comments. You can turn in public comments ahead of time and you can addend them at the meeting. That's if there's a public meeting. So do not feel that you only get public comment or written comment. You can absolutely do both. And we do encourage it, and we understand sometimes people don't like to make comments in front of the public, but you can read. We love, write it out, have your main points. The most you can do is, explain why you're here and why you feel it was worth it for you to get in your car and drive to City Hall and speak on behalf of the application, either, supporting it or not supporting it, in enough specificity that our appointed members of the Planning Commission, Historic Review Board, and our elected officials can be able to respond to it. So as I always like to remind everybody, anecdote does not equal data. So you can tell a story of something that was some of the reason why you came here, but then, take it to that next step and explain why that the application is not you don't believe is meeting either a comprehensive plan policy or a specific code criteria. Does anybody have any questions?
I've just got a quick
comment.
Sure. Can you go to the homepage?
Yeah.
Just a website suggestion. A couple of years ago, I think it probably was, Amy and I worked on a little study group on the redesign of this website. And the intention of those quick links across the bottom was to be things that people went to most often. Mm-hmm. And I suspect, I'm guessing, but I think land use notices would probably be next that's not there. And they're a little buried now, I think, for a lot of people. So there's space there. I think we have having another one for land use notices.
Add it to the banner.
I think it'd get used.
I will definitely pass that on to Laura Turway, Community Development Director, and see if that's an option.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, I think you've sufficiently have our eyes glazed over and
Oh, come on.
Just kidding. No, just keep reinforcing. Read the criteria.
Well,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to turn in public comments without criteria. It's just, I want you to feel that your time and effort was, useful to your goal.
Right, because it doesn't meet any criteria. I mean, if it doesn't talk about any criteria, it's hard to even take it into account.
Right, we'll always take public comment in regardless. It's just, it doesn't help the decision makers.
Right. Okay.
That is all I have.
Great. We'll move on to public comments for items not on the agenda. And first up, we have Betty Mum.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am continuing to have email issues, so I just want to make sure that Berkeley Hills neighborhood information is given out. So we at Berkeley Hills Neighborhood Association will be meeting on next Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the Founders Clinic. We are going to have a presentation from the director of the Founders Clinic. We are going to have Mike Day, the homeless liaison police officer, come and talk to us. And we are holding elections for vice chair, secretary, and CIC. So if you're out in the camera world and you live in Berkeley Hills, please come to our meeting.
Betty, where's the Founders Club?
Founders Clinic is 700 Malala Avenue. It's the free clinic.
Right across from talk shows.
So Berkeley Hills neighborhood has a lot of jewels in our neighborhood. We've gone to the Rose Farm. We've went to the Mountain View Cemetery. So we have the Founders Clinic in our neighborhood. So and a lot of citizens didn't know that what it was even about or why it was there or anything. So we talked with the group, and the group wanted to go, and so we're going. All right.
Great idea.
Thank you.
All right. William Gifford.
Madam Chair and esteemed members and representatives of our neighborhood associations, my name is William Gifford. I live in Oregon City. There was a comment about the web page when you go to that planning, where was it? Government planning. And then on the right-hand menu, there's down at the bottom, it says neighborhood associations. And very nice at the bottom of that page, there's a little thing, right there where it says, what neighborhood association am I in? Sometimes there are a lot of people that don't know what neighborhood association they're in. And this is a nice little feature in this website where you can put in your address and it tells you what neighborhood association you're in. Sometimes people don't know that. It's just a nice, quick way of finding that, I thought. The last time I spoke before this esteemed body a few months ago, I talked about some of the early origins of the CIC and the neighborhood associations. And in some dusty place in my office, I happened to find a book. And this was an original handbook about, it was called the Citizen Involvement Committee Handbook, dated 2002 now. That's 15 years ago, so a lot of things have changed. But the general purpose of this, as I recall, I think I got this from Tim Powell, was that each neighborhood association ought to have some sort of a guidebook to explain to their members what a neighborhood association is, what its powers are, what its responsibilities were, how to be involved, the general structure of how meetings can be run. And today, we are so caught up in the convenience of the internet and all things technological. I think we've moved away from how handy it would be if you have a new member to your neighborhood who doesn't know anything at all about neighborhood associations, or you're trying to recruit somebody to act as an officer in your neighborhood association. Wouldn't it be nice? And I'm just going to donate this to the cause. And if someone would like to take a look at it and consider what worth this could have, because when you read through this, you know that hundreds of hours have been poured into this document, and it's just been sitting because I think that it never really got assembled. And during that period when the neighborhoods were all inactive, or so many of them were inactive and then had to be reactivated and so on, this sort of fell through the cracks. But neighborhood association handbook and a CIC handbook, I just thought it was a worthwhile document, and I didn't want to just pitch it, so I'm going to give this to you.
Great. I think that goes right in with our goals that we've set.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Although I put it online.
I'd be happy to scan it. I can send it to Chair
that'd be
Wilk.
great.
There's a lot there. You might want to scan it.
I might selectively scan it.
Then I want the book.
She's got a fancy scanner.
All right. Paul, was your comment right for this section?
Yeah.
Okay, I think your card is hung up over there somewhere, so. Paul Egger. I think you have his, no, it's on your.
Is the one up on top
Oh,
there?
okay, sorry.
Thank you. I'm Paul Edgar. I live in Kenema. This last month, a libelous statement was posted, was written into the Oregon City News about me. It was signed by the treasurer of the Kenema Neighborhood Association, making it a document of an officer of a neighborhood association. It was full of lies, and it harms me. It was libelous via an interpretation from an attorney. I wanted to put you guys all on notice to say that some things like this should not happen, period. There's a decorum, there's being civil. But in reality, it did happen. I sit on multiple boards, commissions, committees. I'm on a half a dozen nonprofits on boards. I'm 77, I've been married 55 years, and I've got 2 kids through 16 years of college, and I've been a small businessman. Successful. I just didn't think that we got that low, that a neighborhood association would authorize through their steering committee to publish something like this and have it go out. And it harms me. It harms me in my activities that I do. I'm at this point in my life where 90% of everything I do is giving back to the community. I'm working on nonprofits to help the homeless veterans. I'm working on regional nonprofits, working for the Village Coalition for Interfaith Solutions. But to have some trash come out, getting published and signed, treasurer of the Kenema Neighborhood Association, is something that should not happen when it's all it was a hit piece full of lies and innuendos. This needs to go through a process. If we in this city can stoop to this level, go this low. Now, yes, some people don't like the fact that I know a little bit about historic preservation. I'm actually on the Clackamas County Historic Review Board. I didn't get appointed there because I didn't know something. And I'm in Kenema, and I've got a house built in 1880, and I took it through and I rebuilt it correctly. It's an example of somebody who cares and does it and tries through his heart to do it right, backs up what I do and by my actual actions. I care about the environment deeply. I'm a Webfoot Oregonian, where I fight to save the trees, protect the water, and I know that, in fact, our neighborhood is one that has, in a geologic sense, virtually all of the hillside is in a geologic hazard area where Dogami says it's a landslide.
Paul, I need you to wrap up here.
All I'm saying is this is a grievance that's going to happen. I have to advance it. This should not have happened. I hope very much that you people realize that maybe there is a code of conduct that needs to be put together. And this is a place maybe it could start from, and hopefully we can move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, any other public comments? All right. Christina, was there updates from last meeting?
Yeah, we only had one update from last meeting, kind of a change from our long list, but there was a request to put the CIC standing committees on the footer, and that is at the very end of the footer of your agenda page tonight. So as new committees are added, I will add those on. As some groups finalize up, we'll take them off.
Okay, perfect. And I would ask those people that are out on assignment, if you have had something happen within the last month, that you report it. Remember to keep it brief. We don't need the whole meeting recapped, but a brief update is great because you're representing us, so we need to be
Which raises
a little bit.
question that we didn't loop you in on. When did we want to do Kelly's slides?
There is a quick update in the McLaughlin-Kenema Trail. Karen has, I have about 3 slides that Karen can do during her roundtable.
Okay.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Any changes or corrections to the October minutes? Hearing none.
I move they be approved as distributed.
Second.
All right, all in favor by the hand? Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes unanimous. And then we get to adjourn before we have roundtable. Who's?
I know.
Hey, that'll speed it up.
So,
you were right.
I know. So I just want to let you know, this was unfortunately what uploaded was the one that before we pulled the grievance committee. So I will, when this is done, I'll bring up the grievance committee agenda after this. So we can
All
move
right,
on
I'll
towards
switch them
roundtable.
around.
7 goes up.
Okay, roundtable. We'll just start right over here with Commissioner Shaw.
Well, I really don't have anything, so
Okay.
I thought what I would do is,
Sorry.
ask if anybody has questions for myself here as commissioner, so. Great.
We are a rowdy bunch tonight.
Well,
Free to ask.
here was your chance.
Tony?
I don't have anything.
And he's not going to ask if we have questions. Christina?
I do have some updates. Just a reminder that deadlines for the mayoral appointments to CIC are as follows, and I'll send this in an additional email. December 4th is the deadline for names to be sent to Katie Riggs, and you can send more than one name. January 3rd, the January 3rd City Commission meeting, the mayor will appoint the members. And remember, this is every neighborhood association is up for reappointment. It's not a term issue. It's every 2 years, everyone's reappointed. The CIC's first meeting in 2018 is February 5th. So we will not actually we'll have a December meeting, but not a January meeting. And then I know that the February meeting will be looking at the public involvement plan. So start thinking about how your neighborhood has been working to bring new members in, and we're going to probably have a show and tell in February to see what people are doing.
It'll also be elections.
And elections as well. That is all I have.
All right. Vern?
Tower Vista. We had on an October meeting, 2 officers decided they could no longer continue with the schedule. One of them had some medical conditions and grandchildren issues, vice chair, so we no longer have a vice chair. And the secretary took on some ongoing education that conflicted with our meeting schedules. So we're in a bad spot. We're down to 1. So, and maybe probably has happened in other places. We just need to work on it and get back up to have a full complement. But those And one of them is, I think did you catch that on the CIC that Georgia is no longer an alternate to that because she's.
No, we didn't receive anything about that.
Pardon?
We didn't hear anything about that.
I guess maybe I should have sent that information. Georgia
Well,
resigned.
I
but
did
thought you
see the minutes.
If you sent it to Katie, that goes online, but it doesn't get to the CIC
She may
stuff.
not have, Katie
Okay.
may not have
Okay.
been on there, but I know there was minutes from that October meeting.
Yeah. So if you, just a reminder, if you do have any changes in membership, you can send it to me, but make sure you also CC Katie Riggs.
Right, you gotta hit both sides. Okay.
And I guess that's it for mine.
Are you gonna continue to meet with,
Yeah, we're, the last meeting, we talked about that, and for several varieties of reasons, if for nothing else, the companionship of having a few people show up at the meeting versus holding your meeting of 2 or 3. And so I think we're, I don't know that there's an end date to the joint effort, but it may
It's okay.
continue for
Hillendale and Tower Vista are joined by Leland Road. That's kind of our connection, a big connection point between the two neighborhood associations. But on the other hand, Hillendale Neighborhood Association had some new people step up. So beginning in 2018, I will no longer be CIC representative. Roy Harris will be the representative and Ray Stobie, if they are so appointed by the mayor. So we'll have some new faces for you guys, at least one new face for you. The other thing that we had at our joint Hillendale Tower Vista Neighborhood Association meeting, we had the fire department come and talk about Operation Santa. And one of the things that the fire department, they mentioned too, is that they're starting what they're calling as a single medic in a car unit that is going to be able to go out to some of those medical calls so that it doesn't take the entire big rig to go out for somebody who's having indigestion and afraid they're having a heart attack. So somebody, it's for evaluation purposes. And a community paramedic program for the frequent caller program for the ones that might need help. So
very well put.
Isn't that nice that you're saying that? And from the police department, they had a really successful shred event. So make sure you're taking advantage of those. And the big thing we had at our meeting was ICON came to talk about the development next to Wesley Lynn Park that the citizens voted twice not to allow them to build. And so there was some changes made as to what they were going to put on the easement that was allowed for them on the park property. And with that change, those of us at that meeting moved by and unanimously voted that our land use chair, William Gifford, wrote a letter of support for that development. And I know that there's been some communication over chit chat that some people are upset regarding that development. But I think if you really look at what the easement allowed and what the development is putting along that easement, that it met all the criteria. And so we looked at the criteria, Christina, and made sure that it was going to satisfy the criteria. So again, that's why we have our neighborhood association meetings. We're for land use. I mean, that's our primary mission. And so we had this meeting. Not a lot of neighbors showed up. So we still don't understand why. We try to get the news out there. We even put it out on Chit Chat that we're going to be talking about this at the meeting. People don't want to hear, the facts. I think sometimes their minds are made up ahead of time. But Hillendale, we will be meeting with Tower Vista. Tomorrow night is our steering committee meeting, and it's going to be at Mazatlan Mexican Restaurant. If you want to join us, come order dinner at 6:30. The meeting will start at 7.
Thank you. Barbara?
Okay, Park Place neighborhood met the third Monday of October. We had a general meeting. It was very well attended. We have new officers. And Tony Conkles gave us the State of the City report, and Pete Walter showed us he was trying to show us an overhead, but it didn't work, so he did his best. We'll have a meeting the Monday before Thanksgiving, a steering committee meeting, and that's about it.
All right. Gaffney Lane, in October, we had our steering committee meeting. What we've just started doing, we're very proud of ourselves, all three of us, on our steering committee, and we planned our agenda so that I didn't have to do that by myself. Our meeting will be next Thursday, this Thursday, the 9th. And we have, Kelly Reed is coming, we just switched land use, the planners, so Diliana will be coming with her, but we had asked her to give us an update on land use. Sometimes it's hard when you go online to figure out where they are in the process. And sometimes people come to your meetings before the pre-app and then they go away. And so people are continually asking, but you go online and can't find them. So we've asked for an update on things that we had heard about before. We're going to talk about some businesses in our neighborhood. So that is, we're all excited about that. And we'll have good treats again. The Meadows Courtyard makes us fun treats every time, so we never know what we're going to have as our refreshments. Sometimes they're themed and sometimes they're just fun. They treat us well. Two of the committees that I'm on, one is the project advisory team for the Equitable Housing Project, and Steve Van Heverbeek and I are both on that. We had our first meeting on the 24th, and we met basically going over the overview and the scope of the project that we are tasked with to help kind of clean up the code and what do we need in Oregon City as far as equitable housing. We had they've done a really good job of picking citizens at large and getting people there that I've never seen before, so it's really nice. There's a really good group of people that'll be there that will get some new information. So we're trying to plan our next meeting. We did one of those polls, when can you come, and we're waiting to hear about that, so we'll let you know when we have that. The other is the first Thursday of the month, I go to the Community Development Department Stakeholders Group. Architects, developers come, and I'm there representing the citizens. We get updates from the planning division, the building division, and development services. They have come in, and so if you have any questions about how many applications have been coming in and how many permits and the staffing, that's what they talk about. And then they ask for input, and I've gotten really good input from neighborhoods to present back at this meeting, questions on permitting, or, hey, I want to go and build a accessory dwelling unit. Do I have to pay $40,000 in SDCs? You know, those kinds of good questions that help. So that is my update.
Okay, so neighborhood news. We had our steering committee last month, and our meeting is a week from Thursday. Nothing exciting on the agenda. However, I am going to be attending the National Natural Resources Committee meeting this Wednesday. What I suspected is true. The other two oak trees in front of Mount Pleasant School, according to an arborist, are not healthy puppies. And so NRC has that on their agenda Wednesday, and since we haven't had time yet to meet and bring it up at the Neighborhood Association, I want to kind of see where things go on Wednesday. But apparently they're no happier than the one that decided to lay down in the middle of Lynn Avenue in the middle of the night. So, and so I was on the McLaughlin-Kanema Trail team. I gave a report at the last meeting. But Kelly Reed graciously has sent us some pictures that are better than me drawing in the air like I was doing before. So the previous slide was one of the better pieces of the trail, but not developed. It's just a footpath. Your next one shows one of the strains of our proposed route. It will be having to parallel McLaughlin for some distance, but there'll be plans for some kind of barricade or separation for the walkers from the highway, and hopes for future development that allow a better walking trail for the final plans. Next one, that's a trail. I think this is in Old Kenema Park, I'm guessing.
so they'll definitely
I
be
didn't
wider.
take this piece of the walk.
Mhm.
Okay, and the next one, and this is going through Kenema, and this is where you can really see one of the issues that we were looking at. Kenema was built for a two-wheeled wagon and a horse. It was never built for cars, and it was certainly not built for cars going two ways, plus people walking and bicycles. So there'll be a lot of attention paid to moving people using the trail through Kenema on the city streets, because this is what you're dealing with on Kenema city streets. And this is South End Road. This was one of the reasons that we decided not to take the trail up South End Road. Even though I did suggest the way Oregon City's always done it is a couple sticks of dynamite and you're fine, but.
That was the 19th century version.
But this would take, yeah, I know. They don't play it that way anymore. So this is one of the, shall we call it, pinch points that deterred us from looking at South End as one of the routes on this trail. Next, and this is why you don't cross the highway. If there is an existing boardwalk along the river that hopefully maybe eventually could be an extension of the Riverwalk, but it needs extensive work on the existing boardwalk, and when you get to Kenema, this is what you have to contend with to cross the highway. So that was a reason that we did not go with an alternate route that took you down the west side of the highway. And this was one of the community events that we did, and at the Museum of the Oregon Territory and the Kenema Tot Park, they had stations where you could look at things, give your input, and we had really good participation that day. I was really impressed.
80 people came and provided comments.
Okay, wonderful. And, all right, so this is the first, and understand that there's an interim trail recommendation, and the recommendation includes certain improvements that will then lead us to a final trail alignment. Back one so I can look at the interim. The interim one is going to take you off the promenade at, I think, Second Street, up to High Street, then down South 2nd to the highway to cross at the pedestrian signal. Then you'll parallel the highway, go up around Old Kenema Park and through Kenema. The final plan has a few changes and additions to it. One of the recommendations, and we did have a representative of ODOT at the meetings, who is open to closing off Tumwater Drive. This had been in a conversation before, and ODOT didn't cooperate or didn't agree with us. ODOT, according to what we were told, ODOT is now open to closing that end of Tumwater Drive, which most of us think is just a hazard anyway.
So the left turn off of
The left turn off of 9090 up to Tumwater.
Up the luge, as we call it.
And there does appear to be some capacity to bring cars into the city parking lot next to the VFW hall from First, which is an option to be looked at, because part of the concern of continuing down the promenade through the parking lot past the VFW hall is it's a very narrow driveway with very poor visibility. And we didn't want to encourage a lot of people walking down there as long as traffic was coming up Tumwater and cars were coming in through that. So long range, if those two things can be addressed, the trail will actually come down the promenade, past the VFW hall, past the Museum of the Oregon Territory. The next trick for a really creative traffic planner is a safe crossing from Tumwater to the other side, which does not exist currently because of the way that road works and how busy it is. But there were some ideas for traffic calming in that area that would allow you to just walk straight across. and then the rest of the route remains pretty much the same. And the advantages of the route, it exposes people to Old Kenema Park, which most people don't even know exists and is beautiful. There'll also be some traffic calming in Kenema. Some of the proposals are lowering the speed limit, speed bumps, other things to deter. And actually, as the Kenema partners commented, there's a lot of issues in Kenema already, especially for school students getting off of buses, neighbors just wanting to walk the neighborhood. So this will be an advantage to Kenema to improve the walkability of their neighborhood when this is completed. And it will be going before the Planning Commission for a presentation next Monday night, the City Commission in December, and fun committee to work on. And I missed the next one. There's all the cool things we can do in Kenema.
Oh, there we go.
So, and the one thing I hadn't heard, I think you sent an email out, but what's Kelly's new title?
Kelly Reed has now been promoted to planner from assistant planner.
With the historic.
Oh, and Kelly will also be the historic preservation planner for Oregon City.
Yes, she's fun to work with, and I was thrilled about that because the city hears a lot from me on historic things, and I was missing Christina, but Kelly's going to do a wonderful job. That's it. Gary?
I'll just refer to Bill.
I noticed that Gatorade bottle on South End. That must have been before you cleaned it.
I meant to mention that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You missed what I said.
Yeah.
South End Neighborhood Association had our general meeting on the third Thursday in October, and we had a presentation by Kelly Reed talking about different land use issues that were happening in the city, and we had quite the lively conversation. And our next meeting is in the third Thursday of January.
Mark,
little reprieve.
Are you back there?
Yeah, I have a correction. Well, in addition on the elections for Berkeley Hills, there's 4 other positions also open, and those are the members at large that we have for our CIC, for our steering committee.
Oh, steering committee.
Steering committee, I'm sorry. There's, as part of our steering committee in our bylaws, we're asked to have 4 members as a full steering committee. So without a full steering committee, it really doesn't mean much, but we've been doing it, we've been winging it.
We take what we can get.
Second of all, the meeting, just a slight correction, that the group did not decide to be at that was a unilateral decision to have it at the clinic. So it wasn't, the meeting for this was not a group decision. It was a unilateral decision. That's my only correction for the record. That's all.
Okay. Dennis?
Yes. We have our neighborhood meeting at the police station the 16th. We are electing new officers for our neighborhood. I can't let the night go away without commenting on Mr. Egger's comment. That was a separate issue by an individual resident neighbor in Kenema who had her name maligned through the same discourse as Paul is referring to, and that is letters to the editor. And what is strikingly important to note is that, after many of these responses through the letters of the editor in the last 3 years, there's a good many neighbors, Karen being one, and I guess I'm sort of speaking up for her, having the chance to speak back and to comment for the allegations and accusations that were levied against single members within our community. And I think it just perhaps stung Paul a little bit too much. And I would attribute that to a pushback. And it's unfortunate and sad that he chooses as a few do, to work outside our neighborhood and rather to participate and contribute. We try many different ways to encourage them to come back into the fold and to contribute. And you heard, as we always do here, the list of credits Paul Egger has, and he could be such a positive force rather than a negative one. And it's too bad and unfortunate that he feels that he's been undercut, but I think he just got himself burnt a little bit, and I have to waste the time by telling you this, but I resent it, and I don't think it really applies, and there might be some truth there.
I would like to remind everyone, this is a great opportunity to remind us that you should not use your title behind your name unless you have been approved to do so at your neighborhood meeting. Sometimes we want to do it to just remind people that that is our title, but what happens is that people think we're speaking for the neighborhood.
I disagree on that because we've gone through the grievance and the separation is that there's a difference between using your title to represent and full disclosure, because I believe people should know who they're talking to, whether you agree with it or not.
And I understand what you're saying. So then instead of signing it as your title, then you should say, but you need to say, I'm speaking as a person and not in the capacity. Because if all you do is list your name as if you're doing full disclosure, it makes it seem as if you're using your title and that you've been approved. Joyce?
I am reading the article that was referenced right here on my phone, and there was no title given, just her name.
Okay.
There is no mention that she is on the Kenema Neighborhood Association.
Okay, thank you.
And it was an answer back to an allegation made prior.
But this is just a reminder. We've talked about it here before. If you want to list your title, please make sure that you have a disclaimer that you're.
But I think the reminder should be that we all should be cordial towards each other and not necessarily worry about too much on title.
Yes, but when you give your personal opinion and even if it's cordial.
That's the Constitution. A constitutional right gives you to express yourself, especially on nextdoor.com.
Yourself. Okay, and I'm not going to argue that point. I'm just saying if you want to list your title, you need to make sure you say that you're speaking for yourself, not in that capacity.
Unless this body adopts a policy, you do not have the right to tell people what they can and cannot do. I've explained this to this body several times.
I'm not going to argue. I'm just reminding you what we've asked you to do. Brian?
We had a meeting on the 25th, which is the fourth
Can you use the
Wednesday.
microphone?
Is that on? Yeah, we had our meeting on the 25th, the fourth Wednesday of the month. Most of my meetings are on Thursdays. We had 16 people who signed the login, and we had actually 4 major presentations from 3 organizations. So we've reviewed plans for Clackamas Cove Phase 2 off and on for years because they keep changing the plans. They're down to what they say is their final plan, which they presented to us. They're going to end up with about 400 living units, some retail space, and live-work combination units.
Is the 400 just in the second phase?
Just in the second phase. And it's more than the first phase. And the live-work units will probably be offices due to the size. There's the possibility of retail as well, but you live upstairs and on the ground floor you have an office or whatever works. So that's an interesting thing. There will be what could become a major bike path running north and south through the project. And that'll be like a 12-foot one, I believe. And, if I don't know where Metro is going with their idea of a replacement bridge over the Clackamas there, but if that does get put in, that will be a major route for people coming from all throughout Portland. But we don't know. So anyway, the trail is there, whether it gets used or not, and that trail will be the main access for people getting to the cove itself. The second presentation was just an update. It wasn't something that we had to vote on, but Dan Fowler and Lloyd Hill provided an update on the bicycle paths there. In that project, there's actually 2 separate bicycle routes through the proposed Hampton Inn across from end of the Oregon Trail. One is going to be near the street, and a smaller one will start at the depot and sort of wind its way through the proposed development and onto the road. Trying to remember which street that is now. 17th, I think. Yeah, and they're also concerned with getting access to the cove area from this development, and they have ideas of both going over the railroad track with a bridge type setup or underneath near the creek. Of course, they have to talk to the railroad yet. They haven't done that, but they have some interesting ideas. But anyway, the city did ask that there be that connectivity, and that you could drive from the depot through this development. And so that is being planned. And finally, WES, Water Environment Services, came with 2 projects that they're undertaking. They're doing yet another major upgrade. They're constantly trying to keep ahead of the curve as far as capacity. And they're going to have a much higher capacity once this project is done to handle the solids, and it's being distributed to agricultural lands throughout the valley. And the second project is actually, again, 2 projects, which is a 20 and a 30-inch sewer line going underneath the 82nd Avenue Bridge to their plant, coming from different locations, of course. So you can see they need to increase their capacity because that's a lot of sewage potentially. So anyway, so that was what we heard about and talked on. Okay, do you have a question?
Where do you hold your meetings?
What?
Where do you hold your meetings?
We're holding them at River Shore now. The place that we were going to hold them at is no longer there. So,
where at the River Shore do you hold?
Do you use the meeting room downstairs, or?
We didn't this last time. There's a separate roomlet that's not walled off, not far from the door, and that's where we met this time. But we filled it to capacity with the people that we did have.
Can you make sure to get to Katie Riggs where your location is, because it still just shows to be determined?
Yeah, yeah. We were going to be doing it at the depot, but the depot's no longer there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, if you could let her know, that way people can come if they didn't get a postcard. Great.
Chair, can I? Brian, did the Two Rivers Association, Neighborhood Association, take a formal position on the hotel, on the Hampton Suites?
Yes, it did, and we approved it as far as our concerns. You know,
okay.
We didn't have any major objections to it.
Okay, Mike.
Cockfield Neighborhood Association, our next meeting is on Tuesday, November 28th at 6:45, and we meet at the Bus Barn. A couple of presentations planned for sure, one from the developer that's working on the apartments across from the high school, and the other from Phil Lewis, our Community Services Director, who's going to speak about the timing and such on phase 1 of the Glen Oak Park project, which ought to draw us a crowd because there's a lot of interest in that one, and finally maybe moving some dirt there would be wonderful. The only other thing I would say, as you know, we did have an ad hoc grievance committee a short time ago, and 2 of the things that we suggested were some more formalization on how you go about filing a grievance. And the other, I just totally blanked on. What was the other thing? I can't believe I did it. Yeah. How to file a grievance. Oh, and how should people in voluntary positions, whether officers or members of groups like this one, how should they or should they not identify themselves or their comments on social media? And I'm bringing it up because it sounds like we might want to get that up a little higher on our urgency, because it sounds like we're going right back down the same road. So that's it for me.
All right, as far as updates, can you update us on the minutes situation? Did the city commission come to about if we can go to just...
If I could do that by email, because I'm not as clued in as I should be. And I can do that by an email to everybody.
Wednesday. Okay, because I believed it was at the last meeting. So yeah, that would be the thing, to just let us know if we can go to just action minutes instead of... Yes.
Just real quickly, the updates I have for liaison, I have to get back about Mike Mitchell's request for a land use link on the main website and kind of the process. We would need to go in-house to get that. I like the idea, so hopefully there's no pushback. I'll send the dates for the CIC appointments again, and then I'll get back regarding what the City Commission adopted for revised minutes.
Great. Any other comments? All right, we are adjourned.